Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Brewer's Minute. So, over the last few months, and even maybe a year or more, one of the things that we've talked about a lot is the need for Wizards to improve the answers in Standard. They've printed some super powerful threats, and threats seem to just keep getting better and better and better, but the answers haven't kept pace. In fact, as the threats have been getting better, the answers have been getting worse. And Wizards acknowledge that this needs to change. They need to swing the pendulum back towards the middle where threats and answers are more balanced. And while it's going to take a little bit of time to really get that in full swing, I wanted to take some time today for our Brewers Minute and look at the answers we got in Amonkhet and see how well they fulfill our request for having better answers. So we're going to go through a few different categories of answers and kind of talk about how good or bad they are, rank them a little bit. I will say this is not an exhaustive list. There's tons of things that can sort of be an answer, so this isn't every single thing that is kind of an answer. These are the answers that I think are good, that I'm interested in. So we're going to talk about that today for our Brewers Minute. A quick reminder before we talk about answers in Amonkhet, if you enjoy Brewers Minute and the other series here on the channel, it would be amazing of you if you could take a quick second, click that subscribe button down in the corner of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So first off, let's talk artifact answers, and this has been a big thing since Smuggler's Copter and the banning and the dominance of Aetherworks Marvel and the Emrakul banning and now Heart of Kiran. So the artifact answers in Kaladesh block were super bad. So in Standard, right now, Heart of Kiran, Dynavolt Tower, Aetherworks Marvel, there's a ton of powerful artifacts. So many decks are built around artifacts, either as their primary or secondary game plan. The answers just haven't been able to keep up. So what does Amonkhet give us in this regard? Well, the good news is, if you're playing green, you get not one, but two main deckable answers to artifacts in Dissenter's Deliverance and Manglehorn. These cards are super, super good. Dissenter's Deliverance is main deckable because in the worst case, you can always cycle it away for 1 mana. In the best case, you kill your opponent's Heart of Kiran for just 2 mana, Aetherworks Marvel, etc. Manglehorn is probably the best artifact answer in the entire set. It's on a body, kills an artifact when it enters, and it also stops Copycat Combo, stops Aetherworks Marvel for a turn, Dynavolt Tower for a turn, by making those things come into play untapped. I'm still super hopeful that Copycat Combo will be banned. I think that if that happens, Standard will be awesome, so hopefully Manglehorn will not need to be answering the Copycat Combo, but we will have to wait and see. There's also a couple good sideboard options. Byforce is a very strong card. It compares almost favorably with something like Shattering Spree, which is modern staple, close to a Shatterstorm. Just a very good artifact removal spell. And then Dispossesses answers one troublesome artifact forever. I don't think it's that great against Heart of Kiran because it's too slow, but against Aetherworks Marvel decks, for example, even Dynavolt Tower decks, if you can cast this on turn 3, you're going to cut your opponent out of their primary game plan. So I have to say that on a grading scale, the artifact answers in Kaladesh has got to be an A. It's the best answers we've got. These cards are very, very, very good, so very happy with the answers there. Let's move on and talk about the creature answers, and I think the big one here is Magma Spray. Magma Spray is super important because it gives us an answer to Scrap Heap Scrounger in specific, and a lot of decks play Scrounger. It is one of the best cards in Mardu vehicles. It just gives the deck so much resilience because it keeps coming back from the graveyard to crew Heart of Kiran. So I'm very excited about that. There is this weird tension between Magma Spray and Shock. Shock is worse against Mardu vehicles. It's still okay. It gets Toolcraft Exemplar, all that kind of stuff, but it's very important against Copycat. So this is another instance where I think if Wizards bans Copycat Combo, just Copycat, just Felidar Guardian, nothing else, no massive changes, then that's going to let players play Magma Spray, which in turn allows players to have a okay matchup against Mardu, which in turn makes make Standard much more diverse and more fun. The other answers we got that are kind of interesting, Essence Scatter. It feels bad to be excited for this card, but it is a 2-mana counter that hits any creature, and we haven't really had that effect in Standard recently. A lot of the Essence Scatter variants have been strictly worse, having some sort of restriction. Creature of this converted mana cost or less, or this converted mana cost or more. So having just a straight-up Essence Scatter is actually kind of nice. And then Cast Out is very good. It's not just a creature answer, but it's a great removal spell, especially for control decks where you can cycle it, it's instant speed, it does everything you want a removal spell to do. So another thing that there's been a ton of talk about is graveyards, and we have just been completely barren of graveyard hate for 2 years now, back to the Rally the Ancestor days. I guess that's a year ago when Rally was dominating Standard because there was literal no answers to graveyards, not a single card in Standard that could deal with it. And Wizards finally is giving us some graveyard hate. So Scarab's Feast is way better than it looks because it always cycles, and the opportunity cost of playing a card that cycles is so low because you can always cycle it away, get another card when it's not good. I don't think you're going to main deck this, maybe if you really care about cycling, but this is a good answer. It gets rid of Scrap Heap Scroungers, gets rid of 3 cards of a specific type to turn off Delirium, so it's a pretty solid answer. Watcher of the Dead is interesting mostly because it's colorless. It's not an insane graveyard hate spell because your opponent gets to choose the 2 cards to keep, which probably lets them turn back on Delirium, or they'll keep their Scrap Heap Scroungers, or their Aftermath card, or whatever card they really want in their graveyard. But it still does give every color access to a card that can deal with go-wide graveyard strategies. It is pretty good against Delirium in most situations, even if it isn't straight game over. So I think that Scarab's Feast is very strong. Watcher of the Dead, it's okay. I'm glad we have it. It's better than the alternative of having absolutely nothing. So I would say that unlike Artifact Hate, which is 10 out of 10, Graveyard Hate is maybe, I don't know, 6 out of 10, somewhere in that range, 5 out of 10, but it looks really good because we're coming from a Standard where we were at literal 0 out of 10 with no options available whatsoever. A couple more categories to go through. One is Wrath, and Wizards has moved away from unconditional 4-mana Wrath, so what kind of sweepers did we get in Amonkhet? And really, Red got a good one. It got to Anger the Gods. That's on par with that effect. It's a strong card. As far as Wrath Wraths, we have Dust to Dawn and Rags to Riches, and both of these cards are pretty lacking in terms of being a sweeper. They're definitely not the 4-mana Wraths of old where you kill everything. They're just so conditional. Rags to Riches is basically a slightly more expensive Infest, or a slightly less powerful Yahani's Expertise. Dust to Dawn is great if you're playing aggro with a bunch of little creatures and your opponent's playing a bunch of big creatures, but they're very, very conditional wraths, so not a lot to see as far as sweepers outside of red. And then the final category to talk about is Planeswalker removal, and this is maybe the most disappointing category of them all. So Planeswalker removal, Cast Out is good. It is very good. I am very happy with that. It is technically an instant speed Planeswalker removal spell. However, Never is very disappointing. Never to Return kills a Planeswalker, but it's at sorcery speed, so it's basically a Ruinous Path. And moving forward, one thing I really hope Wizards does is move the Planeswalker removal that we have in black, and maybe even just create more Planeswalker removal, but definitely move our black Planeswalker removal into the instant speed category. We need more Heroes Downfalls, less Ruinous Pass, especially with the power level of Planeswalkers. The new Gideon, indestructible. Old Gideon, indestructible. Saheeli Rai wins the game the turn it comes down. There's so many Planeswalkers that really need to be killed at instant speed, or else you're at a huge disadvantage, and you kind of just lose the game. So while I'm happy about Cast Out, we really need to see more instant speed Planeswalker removal. So I think overall, I'm happy with the answers we got in Amonkhet. I feel like Amonkhet is a great step in the right direction. I feel like we're starting to see the pendulum swing back to where we need it to be. And I'm not saying we got to go back to Force of Wills and Armageddons in this format with chokes and Blood Moons and where answers are way better than the threats. I don't think that's healthy, but I also don't think having threats be way better than the answers is healthy. So I think if we were 100% to threats before Amonkhet, maybe that's swung back to the middle to where the scale is 80% towards threats. But that 20% is a meaningful change. We're not all the way back to the middle where we would have the ideal format where things are lining up well and the power level is equal, but we're heading in that direction. So I'm very excited to see the first steps, the baby steps of the pendulum swinging back to a healthy standard, and a standard where you can play all different styles of Magic instead of just beating down with indestructible Gideons or comboing off with Saheelis. I'm very excited to see that. Moving forward, I think that artifact removal, great. Targeted creature removal, improving. Graveyard hate, it's back. It's not great, but it's back, which is huge compared to nothing. Where we're still lacking is Planeswalker removal and Wrath, so hopefully in future sets, maybe Wizards will walk back the Wrath thing and give us some more 4-mana Wraths, or better conditional 4-mana Wraths that are not quite Wrath of God or Day of Judgment, but closer to that than Dust to Dawn and Rags to Riches, which feel like overcosted uncommons a lot of the time, and instant speed Planeswalker removal. So those are the requests moving forward. More ways for Planeswalkers, possibly some better Wraths, but it's exciting to see that answers are returning to standard. And for being the first set of the pendulum swing, I think that Amonkhet did a great job of improving standard by improving the answers. So anyway, what answers are you excited about? What did I miss? What else do we have from Amonkhet? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.